Most Canadians think their CPP payment is based on their last few years of salary. It isn't. The real formula uses decades of earnings, several government ceilings, and a set of adjustments most people have never heard of. And that gap in understanding is exactly why so many retirees are shocked when their first CPP deposit arrives. Let's break down what actually determines that number. The Canada Pension Plan is not a flat benefit. It is not the same for every retiree. Your payment is built from three core inputs: how much you earned, how long you contributed, and the age you decide to start collecting. Change any one of those and the final number shifts. Start with earnings. CPP does not count your entire paycheck. Contributions are only calculated on what's called pensionable earnings, the portion of your income between a basic exemption and a yearly ceiling. In 2026, that basic exemption is $3,500, a number that has not changed since 1997. The ceiling, known as the year's maximum pensionable earnings, or YMPE, sits at $74,600 for 2026. The calculation uses your pensionable earnings between the basic exemption of $3,500 and the year's maximum pensionable earnings, with the YMPE set at $74,600 in 2026. So if you earn $40,000 a year, your pensionable earnings are calculated on $36,500, your salary minus that $3,500 exemption. If you earn $150,000, only the amount up to the ceiling counts toward your base CPP calculation. That ceiling isn't the whole story anymore. Since 2019, the government has been phasing in an enhanced CPP. Part of that enhancement introduced a second higher earnings ceiling called the year's additional maximum pensionable earnings. This second ceiling is set at $85,000 for 2026 under the CPP enhancement program. Earnings between $74,600 and $85,000 are subject to an additional contribution, currently 4%, which builds toward a slightly higher future payout for higher earners. That additional contribution is capped at $416 per year for employees or $832 for the self-employed who pay both portions. Wealth simple. So there are effectively two layers of CPP now: the base plan and the enhanced layer stacked on top of it. Now for the contribution rate itself. In 2026, employees and employers each contribute 5.95% on pensionable earnings between $3,500 and $74,600, with a maximum employee contribution of $4,230.45. Self-employed workers pay both the employee and employer portions, meaning they contribute the full combined rate themselves. Remit B. That's how money goes in. Now here's how it comes back out as a monthly pension. Service Canada looks at your entire contributory period, generally from the month after you turn 18 until the month you start collecting, or until age 70 at the latest. For each year in that window, your actual pensionable earnings are compared against that year's YMPE, creating a ratio. Those ratios are averaged together to determine your lifetime average earnings relative to the plan's ceiling. Here's the part almost nobody knows about. Not every year counts equally. CPP has a built-in dropout provision. Your lowest earning years are automatically dropped from the calculation, up to 8 years, plus additional years for periods of child rearing. This exists specifically so that a few years of unemployment, school, illness, or raising young children don't permanently drag down your average. Wealth North. Once your average earnings are calculated, that figure is run through the CPP formula. The formula multiplies your average monthly pensionable earnings by the CPP accrual rate, which is approximately 25% for the base plan, enhanced further by CPP2 contributions since 2019. That 25% figure is the original design of CPPI. It was built to replace a quarter of your average working income. The enhancement program is gradually pushing that replacement rate higher. The CPP enhancement, phased in starting in 2019, is designed to raise the replacement rate from 25% to 33% of average working income over time. Wealth North. That's why two people who retire a decade apart with identical salaries can end up with different CPP amounts. The plan itself has been changing underneath them. Then comes timing, arguably the single biggest lever a person controls. You can start CPP as early as 60 or as late as 70. Starting early comes at a permanent cost. Starting before age 65 permanently reduces your monthly payment by 0.6% for every month before your 65th birthday, which works out to a 7.2% reduction per year, and a total reduction of 36% if you start at exactly age 60. Wait past 65, and the opposite happens. Delaying CPP past age 65 permanently increases your monthly payment by 0.7% for every month you wait, which compounds to a substantial increase by age 70. Immigration News Canada. These adjustments aren't penalties or bonuses in a punitive sense. They're actuarial. The government assumes that if you take CPP early, you'll collect it for more years overall, so each individual payment is smaller. If you wait, you'll collect fewer total payments, so each one is larger. Let's put real numbers on this. For 2026, the maximum monthly retirement payment at age 65 is $1,507.65, though most people receive far less. The average CPP retirement payment for new beneficiaries starting at age 65 in January 2026 is actually just $925.35 per month. That gap is enormous, and it exists because qualifying for the maximum requires roughly 39 to 40 years of contributions at or near the annual maximum pensionable earnings. Very few people hit that mark. Career breaks, part-time years, lower-paying jobs, and immigration later in life all pull the average down. Let's walk through a simplified example. Imagine someone who worked steadily from age 25 to 65, 40 years, but earned close to the YMPE ceiling for only about 25 of those years, with the remaining years at lower income due to part-time work, and 2 years off for child rearing, which get excluded under the dropout provision. Their average pensionable earnings, after the dropout years are removed, come out to roughly 70% of the YMPE over their working life. That 70% average, run through the formula, produces a payment well below the maximum, but noticeably above the national average. This is the kind of realistic outcome most contributors should actually expect, not the maximum number often quoted in headlines. The first mistake is assuming your CPP is based on your final salary, the way some employer pensions work. It isn't. It's a lifetime average, adjusted for the plan ceilings in each year you worked. The second mistake is ignoring the dropout provision when estimating your own payment. Many people manually average all their working years, including the worst ones, and end up underestimating what they'll actually receive. The third mistake is treating the early versus late decision as purely financial, comparing $1,450 at age 60 against $928 at age 65 in one common example. The break-even point where delaying pays off comes at roughly age 74. If health, family history, or immediate income needs matter more to you than a break-even calculation on paper, that's a legitimate factor. CPP timing isn't only a math problem. Wealth North. The fourth mistake is forgetting that CPP is only one part of retirement income in Canada. It was never designed to replace your full salary. It works alongside old age security, workplace pensions, and personal savings. So what should you actually do with this information? Start by signing into your My Service Canada account. This account shows your actual record of earnings and a projected CPP payment based on your real contribution history, not a generic estimate. That number is far more useful than any online calculator because it uses your actual years, your actual ceilings, and your actual dropout years already applied. Wealth Simple second, don't assume the maximum applies to you. Assume the average is closer to reality unless your earnings history says otherwise. Third, treat your CPP start date as a genuine decision, not a default. Age 65 is common, but it isn't mandatory, and the math changes meaningfully in either direction. CPP is one of the most consistent, predictable pieces of retirement income available to Canadians. It just isn't simple. It's built from decades of earnings data, layered ceilings, dropout years, and timing adjustments, all working together behind a single monthly deposit. Understanding how that number is built is the first step. The next question is what happens when you combine it with old age security, and why some retirees receive far less OAS than they expect. That's next.